Introduction. Oh, yeah. So just to share with everyone as well, this meeting will be recorded. So if you have any challenge with that, you have any concern with that, let us know on the chat box. You can Teams me or Shao can see here, and we will, address your concerns accordingly. Okay. So I was saying earlier, introducing myself. I am Jason Ang. You can call me Jason from Sustainkita team. I'm the director of event and engagement actually. And I'm really happy for everyone to join us today on on a Sunday, late afternoon. If you're from Malaysia, and of course, we have team members joining from other parts of the world as well. So, for instance, we have Shao and also Chingwen, also our co-founders and directors of Sustainkita, dialing in directly from the UK. Yeah. And we have Cindy, which is another speaker with us. Cindy, if you can, if you're on a call here right now, can you just show your video and you can unmute and say hi to everyone, the participants?
Hello everyone, I'm Cindy. So I'll be one of the speakers for today. I'm a volunteer for Sustainkita, so pretty exciting. We'll talk to you all later. Thank you, Jason.
All right, thank you, Cindy. So Cindy later will be speaking to everyone, specifically on the in-house developed carbon calculator. And without further ado, let's just start the event. All right. So first of all, we definitely have some housekeeping rules. Very simple, just to make sure that this call or this session runs as smoothly as possible. It doesn't interrupt your learning experience. So do use the chat box for any questions or comments if you have any. Okay. Please mute yourself to avoid any background noises, that will interfere with the person who's speaking or asking questions. All right. Ensure you have a stable Wi-Fi connection. Make sure you have access to Google Sheets, Word, Excel, because we will run some activity later with you all. And if you would like to, share your video, don't worry. Feel free. We're happy to see your face. You can always download the Zoom background that was shared by Shao in the group chat, and update your background. Okay. And we will take a group picture shortly later after our ice breaking session. So please turn on your camera. If you are shy right now, don't worry, but please turn on camera later and join us for this little photo session. And once everything is done, we do have a little feedback form for you to put in your thoughts and to share with us how we can better improve the session. Okay? All right. So without further questions, I think I'll just proceed with the icebreaker. Okay. I can see that everyone here is quite quiet. Everyone stay muted. Everyone not much show their video. But don't worry. Let's play a very simple icebreaker. So in this icebreaker itself, basically we have prepared three questions for everyone here to choose one. Just choose one of the three and answer it based on based on your personal attitude, your aptitude itself, or your personality. So first questions: if I were a color, I would be blank. So that's for you to put in. So example would be maybe you want to say I'm yellow because you are very vibrant and energetic. So second questions, you can choose that as well. If an animal, I would be perhaps cat, and you can explain why. All right, and the last one would be if I were a type of food, I would be. You can be creative here lah. You can be a chocolate cake, you can be avocado toast, you can be anything, but please explain to us why, like a very short sentence. So how you can do this is that you can type in the chat box, okay? Put in your answer because we think that if you unmute yourself and say something, it'll be very chaotic. So just put in your answer here in the chat box. I will try to pick up a few creative one, and perhaps I'll ask the person to unmute and to simply introduce yourself lah. Okay? So your time starts now. Let's do a very quick one. Let's do it in 1 minute. Please type in the chat box, to tell us, to answer one of the three questions on the screen. If you are a color, what would you be? If you are an animal, what would you be? If you are a type of food, what would you be? All right. Uh, Hi, Georgina. Yeah, you're in the library. That's fine. Don't have to unmute yourself. That's okay. Um, Yeah. Okay, we have one question. The first question from Brave, a DJ. Red color because you're red flag to the environment. I'll definitely invite you to explain more about it. But very creative answer. I love it. David, assume you choose black color because easy to get close to everything. Okay, that's very nice. Very good answer. Guys, please have your answer coming in. We want to know you a bit better. So while waiting for everyone to have your answer come in, let me answer it myself lah to show like a demo. So if I were a type of food, I would say durian. Yes. Because some people like durian, some people doesn't. And if you look at me, you might like me or you might not, and that's okay. So that's me lah, durian. I have my very delicious part of personality. I do have my spikes and thorn that people might be repelled. Yeah, so that's me. Okay, I'm excited to learn more. So we have more answer. Georgina, you will be blue because you're calm and chill. I love that personality. I'm always very anxious, so I don't think I'm a blue person. Shao, you are white. You can blend well with other colors. I think that speaks really well. Shao is a team member of Sustainkita. She works really well with everyone. No Arnoon, if you're a color, you'll be purple. Because sorry, everyone's typing in, so I couldn't see. Okay, you're creative and emotional. Okay, that's very nice. Alexandra, George, if you were color but purple, my online friends call me great. Oh, that's nice. Favorite emoji. Um, we have other comments as well. Yellow, SpongeBob. That's very nice. Green because it's nature, comfort for eyes. Very neutral color. If an animal shall commented again, squirrel is cute at a job. Patricia, you'll be yellow because you're Asian. Okay, animal will be ape, monkey. If type of food, you'll be raw meat to carnivore animals. A very interesting answer. Eater, yes, white, plain, and minimalism. That's very nice. Cindy, ice cream, make me happy. Siti Fatima, navy blue. We have Rifa, it will be a cat because they are so cute like me. Oh, you have to make sure you show your video later during the group photo so we can appreciate your cuteness. All right, Christy, you will be a worm. Want to be hidden driving underground. Interesting answer. Okay, so I think something stuck in my mind. I will start with DJ. DJ, since we know this webinar is on climate change and GHG emission. So DJ, maybe can you unmute yourself if you're comfortable to explain to us why you are reflect to the environment?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Great. I think I said that because I don't really take any initiative or care much about the environment whenever I do whatever I want to do. Like I'm very convenience driven. So, I tend to just do things that's fast, it's convenient without factoring in the impact to the environment. And that's what I aim to change. And
I
that's why
see.
I'm trying to learn more. So that's why I consider myself as an impact to the environment.
That's good. That's good. DJ, are you Dinesh?
Yes, I am.
Oh wow, okay. So everyone, just a bit of
Oh, wow.
context. Dinesh is my senior back in University of Nottingham, and DJ Dinesh, yeah, he is a very, very achieving person. So if you have a chance, do you can just say hi to him. He is someone who really changed my life for the better. I would say, yeah. So thanks, Dinesh, for joining this call. Makes me you give me a bit of pressure lah to have familiar faces in the call. But thanks
You're
for
doing
joining.
fine, Jason. You're doing perfectly fine. Don't worry.
Thanks, Dinesh. Thanks. Okay. Maybe Christy, can I have you to unmute yourself? I see a very interesting answer. You'll be a worm. Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I would want to be a worm.
Why?
I don't know, because they're so cool and they're just like hidden underground, away from the world or building their own world kind of
Oh,
thing. Does that
I
make
see. Do
sense?
you mean earthworm?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Actually, earthworm are very beneficial to the environment, especially in agriculture. And yeah, I think I want to be a worm sometimes too, especially at work when things are hectic.
And
I
get
just want to do my work like
yeah.
somewhere in my own space, and I don't want any urgent requests or last minute tasks from my bosses. Yeah. But thanks so much for sharing, Christy. I hope you enjoyed the session. Maybe you can have one more person to share, then we can move on. Okay, let me perhaps get Alexandra George, assuming that you are from Scotland. Yeah, would
I'm
you like
not
to
actually.
where you're from?
I'm from Kuching, Sarawak.
Oh, okay, nice,
Yeah, but
nice.
then like Scotland is one of my dream place to visit lah someday.
I
Yeah.
see, I see. Cool, cool,
Mm-mm.
cool. Okay, share with us more. Like, why Highland cow?
Because when I first saw it, it's like very fluffy. It's like a Maltese dog for cows. So I'm like, oh, I should go to Scotland just to see that someday. So yeah.
That's nice. That's nice. I mean, if you
Uh-huh.
go before September, our team member Shao, she's currently studying in University of Edinburgh. So I think
Yeah.
she'll be a perfect tour guide for you to you know find and to look for the cute Highland cow there in Scotland. Okay. All right. But thank you so much for joining us and for answering this. Okay. All right, guys. Let's move on. So let me tell you a little bit about Sustainkita. So actually, Sustainkita is a non-profit organization that founded by a group of UK graduates. We are friends before in back in A levels and KYUM College in Lembah Beringin, and then once we graduated from the UK, that we start working in corporate life. We noticed that we still have a very strong passion for sustainability, and we do wanted to raise awareness, all right, on sustainability with a focus on climate action, renewable energy, and sustainable agriculture to everyone, especially to Malaysian youth. And that's why we come together. We form an organization called Sustainkita back in December 2022. All right. So since 2022, we have been doing a lot of things. We actively work with local business, startups, NGO leaders. We also work with corporate leaders as well. Our recent podcast that we recorded, we did work with Jared Ho. He is the head of sustainability of Post Malaysia, our national post and service provider, and also the one of the oldest organization or corporation rather in Malaysia. So we had a podcast session with him, and we also work with different leaders or local startup. If you're familiar, maybe BioLoop. BioLoop, it's a black soldier fly manufacturer based in Perak. All right, we work with people like that as well. We want to spread knowledge, and we also work with schools. So the three things that we do mainly would be sustainability awareness, and that, like I said earlier, we spread it through webinars like the one today. We have podcasts. We have capacity building as well, which we will engage later. Carbon footprint reduction, how we could perhaps, sorry for the typo, but how can we perhaps reduce our personal carbon footprint and to contribute to the greater cost of the environment. And lastly, we also have events like Nature Connect, we call it, where we had gathering of 20 to 30 youth in different parts in KL. So the last two we did was in Taman Botanica Shah Alam, and that was one we did in KL Eco Park. So stay tuned. If you're a very outdoorsy person, you want to do hiking, you want to do networking, scavenger hunt, for example, and also if you're in KL, stay tuned to our post on Instagram. If there's such events, feel free to sign up. They should be free and join us and have fun and meet us physically. All right. Okay, so a little bit about SOS Climate Code Red. So this is actually a grant event that we work very closely with World Wildlife Fund Malaysia, WWF Malaysia, where the aim is to, say, address the gap in climate awareness among Malaysian youth and the lack of accessible platform for their participation. So we do notice we do get a lot of comments, feedback, questions on different social media platform from Sustainkita, having people declaring their intention and commitment, wanting to support this cause, but they don't have much option to do so. So with the support of WWF and with the grant, we are able to make at least, I would say, baby steps towards this, and we can start having webinars, workshops to invite youth who are interested. And of course, this is free of charge as well. Yeah. So today we're having this beginner personal carbon footprint emission workshop. Later throughout the month itself, we will have 3 education webinars focusing on one, climate change, second, renewable energy, and third, waste management. So something that if you guys interested can join as well to pick up some tips. And at the end of the session by 9 February, we will have another concluding workshop where you can compare your carbon emission before and after. If you don't understand anything, feel free to ask questions or raise your hand. Either myself or my team will pick it up and we'll answer your questions. All right. So first thing first, the billion-dollar question, what is climate change? So climate change is actually caused by, I would say, the accumulation of something what we call greenhouse gases, GHG in short, within our atmosphere. And it caused a large scale and long-term shift in our planet system. All right. So the difference between weather and climate is that weather, it's what you experience in short term, maybe for the day or for the week. But climate itself, it's long term. Maybe you look at a few months, you look at years, you look at decades, to assess the changes of it. Yeah. So the potent thing about greenhouse gas, I'm sure you might have learned this in different stages of your education journey. But the reason why it's called greenhouse gas is because it creates something called a greenhouse effect. So if you have traveled before or if you are familiar with agriculture, you will notice that there is a structure called greenhouse. It's more like a glass house and it's used to making sure that the temperature within that environment, itself, the enclosed environment, is always constant. And that is very important for certain species of plants, vegetables, or fruits to grow and to strive throughout the year and to make sure that the farmers always have a constant yield. Yeah. So with all these gases, greenhouse gases, that gathers or accumulated around our atmosphere, these gases will act like the glass panel that we have within our greenhouse. All right. It reflects the heat back to the earth from the sun. And, in the end, our planet will get hotter and hotter. And that's why, in layman term, it's called the global warming. That's when your global temperature, average temperature, have increases slowly by slowly. All right. So if you want to know more about climate change, do join us for our next webinar. Will be happening next week itself, where we will talk a bit more. What are the sciences and what are the results happening? Why climate change is real and what we can do about it. And we will also try to invite external speakers to come tell you on specifically on effect of climate change in different sectors. Yeah. So maybe for this workshop today, some simple things for you if you are not familiar with climate change would be, for example, you notice glacier is melting in Antarctica, so we have rising global sea level. All right. There's also a more frequent extreme weather events like floods or droughts happening across the world. And if you're familiar with World Economic Forum, they publish a global risk report every single year. And climate extreme weather event has always been the top 5 in the top 5 by severity and frequency happening in next 10 years time scale. Yeah. And of course, climate change will also impact human health with higher temperature, with flooding. You have increased chance of heat strokes or waterborne diseases like diarrhea. Yeah. And of course, with climate change itself, not just we humans couldn't survive, but the biodiversity would have issue as well. You have animals going extinct. You have a lot of forest fire would burn off a lot of forest ground, and of course affected the animals staying there. Right. So some example of greenhouse gas here, there is a list actually, like I explained earlier. We have carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, HFC, PFC, and many more. But the three main one that that you can just focus on would be carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. Yeah. So these are the more common carbon, greenhouse gas that we talk about in general, and most greenhouse gases they are accounted or they are measured using a universal unit, and that's something where we call ton CO2e, which means metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. We always measure all the greenhouse gas by converting them into carbon dioxide equivalent. So that's something easier for everyone to address and talk about. Okay, so before we go on this Slido, I was reminded by my team that we are supposed to take a group picture. So thank you so much, and the team who reminded me that. So right now, maybe I can have everyone to open your camera if you are comfortable. You know, put on your best smile, show us that handsome smile, the cute faces, and we wanted to take a good picture to commemorate this moment. Okay. And I think my team member Kenny will do the group picture taking. So Kenny, you can give the command and let us know that when the picture is taken. Over
Okay.
to you, Kenny.
Okay, yeah. Hi everyone. My name is Kenny. So we will take the group photo using the built-in Zoom app. So later, right, when you see a prompt where that let you choose to allow or reject whether you took the photo, right? The allow button is the shutter button. So before you click the allow button, make sure you basically smile towards the camera, then only you click the allow button. Then your photo will be taken. Then I will make a collage on my end. So once everyone have that, then we will have a collage of a group photo on everyone. Is that clear? So to summarize, just press the button once you're ready to take a photo. Okay, thank you. If anyone of you think that your photo, you might want it to have a picture retake, you can let me know, then I can press the retake button on your side, then you can retake the photo again if you want. But I'm pretty sure everyone's quality from what I'm looking right now is pretty decent and everyone's pretty handsome and pretty, so that's nice. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for those who are okay with the group photo. Yeah. Back to you, Jason.
Okay, thank you so much, Kenny. Let me share my screen back to the presentation slides. I hope everyone can see my slides. Let me know if you can't.
Oh,
Okay. It's okay? All good?
let me double check one thing.
Okay, sure.
Okay, I think in any sense, can we take one more group photo? I want to take like as a fail safe with a print screen.
Okay, sure. So sorry, guys. Let's just take one more. Technical difficulties a bit to make sure that we really capture this moment and the amazing, good-looking faces of everyone in this call. Bear with us, sorry.
Okay. All right. Everyone ready? Smile in 3, 2, 1. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kenny, and thank you everyone for the patience. Let's go back to the slides. Okay, so now it's we don't want to make it like it's just us talking and you listening. It will not be so fun. So right now we want you to take out your phone, scan this QR code on the screen, and we will be able to do a very simple Slido activity with everyone. Okay. All right. Okay, now I can see, majority of participants are from, Malaysia, Sarawak. If you can, please state down the state that you're from so that we can know better. If not, if you're from other countries, feel free to put it down as well. We have people from Indonesia, Jakarta. Amazing. Welcome. Welcome. We have from Pahang, Perlis, Lombok, Terengganu, Malacca. Majority of people from Selangor, Malaysians, I would say, from Selangor and Sarawak. Of JB, yay! I'm from JB, Penang Girly Pop. Okay. All right. Okay, let's just go next. Okay, so we wanted to know what natural disaster have happened or is happening around where you live. We assume that most participants here are from Southeast Asia, lah. As we can see earlier, it's from Malaysia. We have our friends from Indonesia as well. Please let us know what kind of natural disaster is happening. I would say right now on the screen we see flood happening, which is very valid. I would say, at least if you're from Malaysia, for certain states, especially for the last few months where we are undergoing monsoon season, or that was really, really bad. Earthquake, I assume that's from Indonesia. Oh, so Surabaya. Okay, I think this is maybe from the last questions. Yeah, but welcome, welcome. Happy for you to join us. We have landslide, we have drought. Yes, I think drought is a very common challenge, especially in Kedah and Perlis. Me myself, I went there in, I would say, last year around March, April, like that was really, really hot. So I think drought, it's really a big problem. Flash floods, yeah, I think that's very common in most states that we live in, especially in Malaysia. Soil erosion, landslide, very typical. But one thing we're very lucky is that, at least in Malaysia, I would say, we don't have challenge like earthquake or tornado that might affect other countries, our neighboring countries as well. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Thank you so much, guys. Maybe last question here. Okay. Do you know what is a personal carbon footprint? Like, do you know the concept of carbon footprint? Don't be shy, and this is definitely anonymous. If it's a yes, please select that option. If you have never heard of it before, you want to learn something about it, you can click no. Okay? Carbon footprint, a very interesting concept. Later, Cindy will definitely explain more about it. Yeah. And I think she had prepared a serious material that could share with us as well. And there will be a hands-on session for you to learn how to estimate your own personal carbon footprint. And just to share a little bit, that little in-house carbon footprint calculator that we developed together with a professor, Professor Matthew from University of Edinburgh. Yeah, so we did have a few calls with him, and we go through the calculator with him to make sure that the methodology used was correct. All right. But of course, a caveat here, it is still a very preliminary, I would say we try to make it as accurate as possible, but of course, we have our limitations in developing the carbon footprint calculator. Excuse me. Okay, so right, thanks everyone. I can see that maybe 60%, 2/3 of the participants here have heard of or is aware of personal carbon footprint. But also 40% of people here might not have heard it before, or it's very foreign and alien concept for them. So that's all. That's okay. We will go through the session to tell you more about it. All right. Okay. So now coming back to a little bit on climate change. There's a lot of factors that contribute to climate change actually, but the three main ones that we wanted to highlight today would be burning of fossil fuel, agriculture and farming activity, and of course deforestation. So since for our countries or different nations have went into industrialization for the past 150 years, the world have changed drastically in terms of demands for fossil fuel. And we burn fossil fuel for different activity, for electricity, for industry processes, for manufacturing activity. And all this burning activity have released carbon dioxide and all the other greenhouse gas emission. And all this greenhouse gas emission, they have accumulated and it has caused what we have known as global warming. All right. So since industrial revolution, the atmospheric carbon dioxide concentration has actually increased by over 40%. That is a lot, you know. Um, and this is the latest that we captured in 2023. Yeah, as you can see that it has been to 200 parts per million ppm in the 18th centuries back then, but now it's almost double. We can see a 40% increment. As for farming and agriculture activity, something to highlight to everyone is that in 2023, according to Statistica, uh, close to 11% of a global greenhouse gas emission is actually contributed by agriculture processes. You know, crops, you have livestock production, all this activity produce a lot of emission. And the two main emission that was produced from agriculture and farming would be one, methane, second, nitrous oxide. So methane, it's largely anthroponic source of methane, which means people cause methane, uh, came mostly from agriculture. And this methane is actually a very potent GHG emission and is responsible for 30% of all human-caused global warming observed nation worldwide. All right. As for nitrous oxide, the use of synthetic fertilizer, now fertilizer is chemical fertilizer has been highly modified, and the use of it will release nitrous oxide, which is GHG greenhouse gas that is about 273 times more potent, more dangerous than carbon dioxide to the environment. Yeah. As for deforestation, it simply means cutting down trees and forests, clearing forests for different activity. It can be for farm, for manufacture, or for development of residential housing. All right. So since 1990, almost 6 million hectares of forests were lost every single year. And that total amount of forest loss that we have throughout the year is actually equivalent to the size of Mexico country. Yeah, so that shows how much forests we have cut down. And this is very detrimental to the environment because forests are something that we call natural carbon sink, which they absorb carbon. Forest trees, they absorb carbon dioxide during photosynthesis to release oxygen, and they produce food for themselves. So for all these forests, plants, greeneries, they play a big role in monitoring the carbon balance, the carbon cycle within the atmosphere. And us humans cutting them down, making land use for ourselves, is actually very detrimental because we are cutting off the natural sequestrator of carbon of the environment. Okay. So something that can highlight here is that from 2023 last year, the year before, this report is only done last year. So every single year, they would look at the emission of the year before. So the latest report here is from UNEP, Emission Gap Report 2024. If you're interested, you can definitely have a look at it as well. Yeah, it says that total global greenhouse gas emission has set a new record at 57.1 gigaton CO2 equivalent in 2023. And that represents 1.3 degrees 1.3% increase from our 2022 levels. You might be wondering, since we have, all this recent development of EV car, electric vehicles, we are exploring hydrogen fuel cells. There's so many things about sustainability right now. Everyone's talking about it. People are installing solar panels more and more frequent, and it's more and more accessible to everyone. But in actual fact, our global greenhouse gas emission, it is still on the rise. It is still rising. And let us look at what proportion is contributing to that rise. Okay, so we have the energy sector in general, which consists of power, industry, transport, building, fuel production. It contributed to most of our greenhouse gas emission globally. If you look at power sector itself, it contributes over 15 gigatons, which is 26% of global greenhouse gas emission. Yeah. So you can imagine that the companies, industry, they are burning fossil fuel just to generate electricity. Yeah. So right now, most of electricity, even in Malaysia, in Peninsula, for example, we are very heavily reliant on coal. Yeah, we burn a lot of coal to generate electricity. So Cindy herself, she's actually a chemical engineer in an oil and gas giant company in Malaysia. Maybe she can share a little bit more about that later during her session. But yeah, majority right now, we use a lot of diesel, petrol to generate electricity, to power industry processes for our machinery, and that really contributes to a lot of greenhouse gas emission. Now, of course, the next one will be industry, the processes. We have agriculture as well. LULUCF, this LULU, sorry, let me just enlarge it a little bit. LULUCF, yeah. This actually stands for land use change, and forestry. So basically, in simple terms, I would say, pardon if it's not correct, but it is more on the management of land, cutting of forests, the forests that we protect, we manage, and we reforest, or we, through afforestation as well. These are categorized under this IUCF. Yeah, they are our natural carbon sink, so they're very important. Yeah. All right. Moving on. Okay, now we look at one of the largest emitter of global greenhouse gas. So we look at the production of GHG from energy. All right. So if you look at the picture on your right hand side, it shows that actually by countries, very advanced developed countries are actually the main carbon emitter of the world. As you can see, for example, China contributed to around 31%, followed by US 12% and India 7.7%. All right. These countries, they emit most of the carbon emission, but of course, global climate change is a global phenomena. So the argument or the challenge here is that smaller countries like Malaysia itself, even though our contribution to the global GHG emissions is only 0.77%, but we are also feeling the effect of climate change. And that's why if you follow the news as well in COP called parties of conference of parties, it happens every single year at different countries, right? They talk about something called a loss and damage funds. So they're demanding all this carbon dioxide emitting countries, developed countries, China, US, UK, Europe, to pay the developing countries or islands or smaller countries that has been feeling the effect of climate change. And you might notice that maybe climate change for island countries like Philippines, Indonesia, they are more vulnerable because when sea level rises, all these islands which are on a lower sea level would be flooded very soon, and they got impact very, very immediately. And that's why there is this discussion going on, global discussion, that you might find interesting, and you can read it about it. Yeah. Okay. So while we look at the stats that we have that covers the whole of 2023, so what are we expecting for the future? For 2025, now we are already in this year or in the future, right? Studies shows from Global Carbon Budget, it says that actually the global CO2 emission from fossil fuel are projected to rise by 0.8% in 2024. That will be, reaching to 37.4 gigatons carbon dioxide. And of course, just a caveat here, this is just looking at the fossil fuel emission. Yeah, we haven't looked at emission from coal, petroleum itself. But just looking at fossil fuel, which is the majority, the main cause of GHG emitted, this is again projected to rise. And that shows the urgency for us to really take actions about it. And that's why this is really a big problem. Yeah. The growth of global fossil fuel carbon dioxide emission remains persistent since our pandemic rebound back in 2021. And despite all this development, like I said earlier, clean energy, EV cars, solar panel, the growth in natural gas and oil use still continues to drive the global fossil fuel emissions. Okay, and if you look at projection growth by country, like we see earlier in the previous slide, China is still expecting to grow, and it will grow, drastically, significantly, as you can see on the screen itself with the orange line itself for China. It will still grow a lot. And as for the other parts of the world, it will continue to grow as well, unfortunately. But there will be a decrease in EU, European Union, because I'll say Europe countries, they are actually a leader in climate action. They are the one who is more conscious. They are the one who started to introduce different sustainability reporting frameworks. Or maybe perhaps if you're in the corporate sustainability industry, you might know this better. But EU are the driving force, I would say, that start driving this climate action, and hence they are a bit more conscious, they are a bit more forward than the rest of the country, and they are very committed to reduce their carbon emission. All right. Okay, so now we have set the context of climate change, JG. This might be a very foreign concept for you, but bear with me. This session will be recorded, so you can definitely revisit whenever you want. And if you wanted to know more, you can definitely go out and you know, go for different resources to enhance your understanding. But if you have any question throughout the call, please, raise your hand. You can stop me. You can always ask question. But the aim here of this webinar, of this workshop, is to give you a introductory level understanding of climate change. Yeah. So right now, I hope you're still with me. But of course, shortly we'll take a break. But this part is where I wanted to explain to you why net zero. What is the fuss about 1.5 degrees Celsius, 2 degrees Celsius? What is Paris Agreement? Yeah, all these terms that you might have heard it before, but you don't know how the stories are connected together. All right. So the Paris Climate Agreement, or in short we call it Paris Agreement, is actually the world first universal legally binding climate change agreement. It was an agreement made at the 21st Conference of Parties COP21 at Paris, France. That's why it's called the Paris Agreement. And it was dated back in 2015. So in that conference itself, majority of the countries or members of UNFCCC, who are also parties to the Paris Agreement, they agreed together set out a global framework to limit global warming to below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, and also to pursue efforts to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Okay, maybe at this point, you might ask, why are we having two numbers? It's very confusing. So which one are you achieving? So let me explain it to you. Actually, 1.5 degrees Celsius and 2 degrees Celsius, in simple terms, they are two different limits. One is, I would say, something that you wanted to actively pursue, which is 1.5 degrees Celsius. The 2 degrees Celsius is our lower limit, where we don't want to exceed 2 degrees Celsius. And I'll tell you why in later slides. What is the difference that happens to the world, to human population, to economics when we achieve 1.5 or 2 degrees Celsius global warming? Okay. So to limit that, Paris Agreement, UNFCCC actually mandated different countries to declare their intention to tell everyone what they are doing, their carbon emission, to measure, to account for it, and to come up with mitigation plans through something called Nationally Determined Contribution NDCs. So it's like a goal that they have to report towards, and different countries will produce different reports by their ministry to tell UNFCCC what is their progress at the moment. Okay, so if you look at what we are doing at Malaysia, we actually submitted our first NDC in 2016 and was later revised in July 2021. So in that revision itself, one thing that you just have to remember is that we have committed globally to reduce our economic-wide carbon intensity, which is against our GDP by 45% by 2030. And that is compared to a baseline of 2005. Okay, so basically we wanted to reduce our carbon intensity by 45%. And that was actually revised, the latest revised numbers in 2021. Back in 2016, our target was only 35%. Yeah. So that was an increment, and it shows that Malaysian government is really looking towards reducing carbon emission, and this is a movement that you might notice if you're in the corporate field. Everyone's doing something about sustainability. Green event, EV cars, all this. Climate stuff. This is the reason why we're doing so. The government is setting foot and to achieve a commitment, and hence all big corporates, parties, shareholders, banks, financial institutions are also pushing different organizations to also achieve the same goal. So one interesting thing to share with everyone here, just a few days ago, I would say last week actually, yeah, on 31st December 2024, while we are happy celebrating our New Year Eve, the Malaysian government is very busy. they have submitted our first biennial transparency report. So this is a report that we publish to tell the world, that we submit to UNFCCC, what is our current status right now, the progress and mitigation strategies that we wanted to achieve, the goals that we set out to reduce 45% by 2030. Okay, so in the report itself, our overall GHG emission has increased by 28.24% in 2021 from 2005. So it shows that instead of reducing, our emission has actually increased. And that is taking out the consideration of all this forest, our natural carbon sink forest. So that's why it says here, excluding LULCF. Okay. So if you're looking into this emission, our global emission itself, close to 80% is still contributed to energy sector. So our industry the players, global players like TNB, energy producer, they really have to look into it because that really affects everyone's carbon emissions. Yeah. Of course, we have IPPU. That stands for industry process processes. Basically, you can think it as industry processes lah. Right? Yeah, it contributes to 11%, waste 7.2%, and culture 2.2%. Okay, but of course, if we considered our LULCF, land use change, forestry, and natural carbon sink, actually we have actually reduced our carbon intensity by 37.12%. So this might be confusing. Ask me any question if you want. But essentially, we are making progress towards meeting our 45% reduction NDC target by 2030. And that is good news lah. The government's really stepping up and producing different policy. If you're aware, since 2022, we have our National Energy Transition Roadmap, NETR. We have, in later this year itself, there's a Gazetted Act for Climate Change Act, something that we're looking forward to. Carbon credit has been it's growing right now, managed by Bursa Malaysia and Vera. Then we have National Industry Master Plan, NIMP, that was announced as well last year. And we have recently the National Sustainability Reporting Framework announced by Ministry of Finance, something that mandates all corporates and organizations to report their I would say carbon emission, to report their environmental activities or other sustainability related activities as well, based on a national framework. And this is the first time Malaysia as a country has done that. Yeah, it's very interesting, right? All this recent development towards sustainability. Okay, so this is something as promised. So this is actually an excerpt I've taken up from WF UK, international. So it shows a little bit on what has happened if, for example, you have reached 1.5 degrees Celsius versus 2 degrees Celsius of global warming. So if you can look here on the screen itself, for example, in 1.5 degrees Celsius, 9% of the world population will be exposed to extreme heat wave. Yeah. Pardon me. Whereas in a 2 degrees Celsius scenario, as much as 28% of the world population, 2 billion people, will be exposed to extreme heat wave. So you can see 0.5 degrees Celsius difference can affect so many people. Almost 1.4 billion people will be affected just by that 0.5 degrees increment. And for every half degree warming that happen, it will consistently lead to lower yield and lower nutritional content of tropical regions for our food. And as for coral bleaching, the part where coral die off, 70% of the world coral will be lost by 2100, in 1.5 degrees Celsius scenario. But in 2 degrees Celsius scenario, virtually all of the corals will be lost. That was actually something very serious. As for sea level rises, a 0.5 degrees Celsius increment in global temperature can cause 3 more million people to be impacted by sea level rise, and of course it will means that coastal area, tropical countries, countries that are on lower ground, that will be flooded. Yeah. Okay. So I promise the break will come very soon. I'm so sorry, it overruns a bit, but let me speed up here. So now what is net zero? Net zero emission, or we call it net zero, is actually achieved when the emission released by human activities are counterbalanced by activities that we remove the carbon from the atmosphere. Yeah. So there's two parts to achieve net zero. First part is definitely to reduce as much as emission as possible. Then second, whatever remaining emission that we have to use a certain technology to capture it back to the environment, to the ground. For example, you have carbon capture technology. Yeah, so this is the basically the concept that was used by different corporates as well. They will try to reduce their carbon as much as possible whenever they have the control. Then they try to utilize a carbon sink, carbon credit to remove the remaining carbon emission to achieve net zero. So when to achieve net zero, that we explained earlier, 1.5 degrees Celsius and 2 degrees Celsius scenario. So to achieve 1.5 degrees Celsius scenario, IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, have actually did a study, and they say that to limit global warming to below 1.5 degrees Celsius, we have to reduce our carbon emission close to 50%, close to half of it from 2010 level by 2030, and to reach net zero around 2050. And that's why if you're in the corporate scene, like I said earlier, you can see there's a lot of different goals for net zero 2050. And that's the reason why we are trying to pursue the 1.5 degrees Celsius scenario reduction. If you go for 2 degrees Celsius limiting to limit the global emission to below 2 degrees Celsius, you have to reduce the carbon emission roughly by 25% by 2030, and then to reach net zero at a later date around 2070. And of course, these are all estimation done by IPCC, and we definitely wanted to pursue the best case scenario, which is try to limit 1.5 degrees Celsius, based on the science itself. So like I said earlier, we already committed to net zero in Malaysia, and it was announced in 2021 in the 12th Malaysian Plan. As you can see, big corporates like Petronas, TNB, Post Malaysia, and even in food industry, FGV, they are also committed to achieve net zero by 2050 as well. And that was because the push of different parties. So what is carbon footprint? I think this is the last two slides I have. Yeah, then you can go for a break. So just bear with me very quickly. So carbon footprint here is actually a number used to quantify how the amount of carbon dioxide or other equivalent GL gas that a person or product or even a country has produced. Okay, so anything actually that creates greenhouse gas will have to be included in your total carbon footprint if you're trying to calculate for yourself. So an example of carbon footprint can be emission from petrol in your car, uh, together with the emission created in production of a food you eat. Even though you just eat it, but the production of the food, raising the cow itself, producing vegetable, all this activity has carbon emission accumulated throughout the years to produce that activity, produce that product. And when you consume it, you are the end consumer, and that is actually the carbon emission that you need to account for to calculate your carbon footprint as a whole. And of course, the clothes you wear, the pen you use, everything, the phone, and for example, the wallet, everything has a carbon emission. Uh, so some example that I could share with everyone is that if you notice, if you send a short email from your phone to another phone, you actually have a carbon footprint equivalent around 0.2 gram of carbon dioxide. A single text message has 0.8 grams of carbon dioxide. A liter of tap water, the one you can get from home, it has a carbon footprint equivalent to 0.36 gram of carbon dioxide. And an average little bottle of water would have 480 gram of carbon dioxide because of the processes required to extract all this water from natural sources and to purify them. So very simple, very quickly. In corporate, actually, we look at a carbon emission or carbon footprint very differently. We call it JG emission, and we separate into a concept of scope. So scope 1, 2, and 3 actually means differently. Scope 1 means direct emission from sources that is owned or controlled by an organization. Something that you could do about it, it can be your company facilities, it can be vehicles. Scope 2, it will be indirect emission from generation of purchased energy. So this is specifically in Malaysia's context will be electricity lah. In other countries, you can consider steam, heating, cooling, etc. And for scope 3, it will be all other indirect emission that are out of scope 1 or scope 2. And scope 3 is actually the challenge for most companies because of how wide it is. Some example of scope 1 can be the fuel use in your operation. It can be diesel, gasoline, petrol used to power your vehicle, your generator, your other machinery. Of course, refrigerant gases considered here as well for cooling, and mobile gases used in vehicles. Like I said earlier, if your company has a pool car, it have leased vehicles, it's all calculated as well. All right. Scope 2, like I say, very simple. It's just electricity. If you're in another country, maybe you can consider steam, heat, or cooling yourself. Scope 3, there's 15 categories, which you can see on the screen. I will not go through them, but Scope 3 is basically a very challenge, the biggest challenge for most companies throughout the world to capture their scope 3 emission. And more and more investor, government are requesting organization, corporates, who contribute a lot of carbon emission to also be transparently reporting their carbon footprint and to tell the world what are they doing to reduce their carbon footprint to achieve the goals they want to achieve. Yeah. Okay. Since we already had the Slido earlier, I think now is a good time at 4 for everyone to take perhaps uh, maybe 5 minutes bio break, can go for a little short break whatsoever, and we will meet back at 4:05 to continue the session. Okay? You can just stay in this call. You can just make yourself, you go for a stretch if there's just so much information going on. And I thank you, of course, for staying with us. And if you have any questions, like I said earlier, feel free to reach out to any one of us. You can put in the chat box as well, and we'll try to answer whenever we can. Okay, hi everyone. I hope you're back. Since we had done the Slido earlier, we covered the Slido already. I think we're not gonna do that again. Before we start, just wanted to see if everyone's still here. Okay, if you're still here, can you just type like a 1 in the chat box? Yeah. Let us know if you're still here. Okay, Christy, thank you, Patricia, Rifa, Sustainkita, of course, you're here. Okay, Haziq, thanks, Ling, Jingyuan. Okay, I hope everyone's it's not overwhelmed with the content. I do notice that GHG emission, greenhouse gas, all this climate change, sustainability stuff can be a bit overwhelming if you have you're not familiar with it. But fret not, that is why we have this workshop and webinars. We are here to guide you, at least in simple terms, to help you to have your first step into understanding better how to, what is going on, why net zero, what is 1.5, 2 degrees Celsius. And of course, Cindy will walk you through on the personal carbon footprint calculator. Okay, thank you, Siti, Fatima, Mariam, Dinesh is here. Chingwen, Trisha. Okay, all right. I think that's good. Thank you so much, guys, for responding. For the next session, it's a bit more hands-on. I hope that hopefully it's more fun from my side. And for that, I'll pass it over to Cindy to conduct the session. So over to you, Cindy.
All right, thank you, Jason. Wow, lots of information just now. I bet it's a lot of information to process, but don't worry, later we'll go through uh, more hands-on part, which will be more fun later. Okay, so hello everyone again. I'm Cindy, and as mentioned by Jason just now, I'm a chemical engineer who now works in oil and gas company. Yep, one of the most polluting industry. Actually, it's the most polluting. So actually, my day-to-day work, I have to involves with monitoring and implementation of strategy in reducing carbon footprint. So, well, just a bit of reflection. It does take a lot of energy or manpower to process oil into the petrol, into the gas, into the electricity that we use now. So as a Malaysian, we are really fortunate, I would say, because all of these necessity are very easily accessible, but people tend to take it for granted. So really thank you, Sustainkita, this platform, I think, a good platform that works really hard in pushing all the awareness, raising awareness, especially among Malaysians. So thank you, Sustainkita, again for having me. And thank you everyone for attending today, because as a user, we actually have a lot of change power, and the change power actually comes in collective. So hopefully when you are joining us today, it's a start of a change, and hopefully by having this carbon footprint calculator will be a tool for you to achieve carbon footprint emission reduction. Yeah, we'll try to personalize this experience for you. And okay, so it started with very simple idea. So if any one of you are doing a diet, I bet you know how to calculate your calories. So similar concept. We developed this calculator by doing this, make it tailored to Malaysian. And a lot of us don't know, I like personally myself, I don't know how to quantify a carbon footprint. So it's actually doable. And the development of this footprint calculator, as mentioned by Jason earlier, is we consulted a professor from University of Edinburgh, and so we make it simple, but at the same time not losing its accuracy, and tailored to Malaysian. So using this tool, we hope that you are able to quantify your daily carbon footprint, and you are able to appreciate the figure, because we know that it's actually not common to be quantifying carbon footprint as you do with calorie. You don't know how much the figure means. So incorporating with this concept, we make this calculator in a way that you are able to appreciate the figure. And from there, you are able to, the goal is for you to identify the gaps in a glance, and then help you to stimulate ideas in how to reducing your carbon footprint. Right. Okay, next slide. So in developing this calculator, we mainly put it into 5 categories. So firstly, we mentioned about the energy that you use in home. So for Malaysia, we power our home mainly by TNB electricity, as well as we get water usage. So that's why home takes up a very important category for footprint calculation. And then second group, we have travel. So for Malaysia, we mainly, the mode of transportation, definitely by car, public transport, as well as flight. And then next, purchases, we consider about large item purchases. Because if we want to like what Jason mentioned just now, actually everything that we use, literally everything, there is carbon footprint behind. But I know it's gonna be a pain to list down every purchases that you make in calculating the carbon emission. So we try to simplify it by taking those significant carbon emissions, carbon footprint emissions, like furniture, electronic items, clothes and footwear. And therefore, the category is food. So I bet you have heard about like practicing diet, like eat more, take more plant-based diet, or we have the awareness of taking vegetarian or vegan diet can help with reducing carbon footprint, and that's true. So in a way, we would like you to calculate your own diet, how much carbon footprint is it behind. Yeah. And then for Malaysian, we love takeaways, so we put this in as well. And then for food, we consider about the way you prepare your food as well the food waste. So interestingly, food waste actually contribute to a high emission of carbon footprint, mainly because when food decays, it emits methane, and methane is a highly potent greenhouse gas. It's actually 28 times higher 28 times higher of greenhouse global warming potential than carbon dioxide. Yeah, so don't waste food, guys. Okay, next we'll have waste. Waste, we just lump sum it into 2 categories. One is general waste and the other one is recyclable. Right. Okay, so quickly I will show you the products that we develop and that can help you to understand better. So I'll do this step-by-step guidance here. And by doing this, it will easier because after this, everyone will be you'll be calculating your own carbon emission. You'll be given time for that, so no worries. I'll just explain it through so that when you are answering later, it will be faster. And yeah. So Jason, I will override your screen for the presentation. Okay, I think I'm sharing my screen now. Can everyone see it?
Yes, we can see the screen right now, Cindy.
Okay, perfect. I will just minimize it. I'm not sure. Okay. Right. Okay. So don't worry. I will send the link later in the group chat. But before we go into this, I will just quickly show you how go through each line by line, so that you can understand what's the logic behind and how to answer it better later. Okay, first questions. So what kind of vehicle do you travel in most often? So it's actually a drop down options. You choose either or you choose what you travel in most. Yeah, okay. So if it's car, okay, let's say it's car. Okay, put it there. And the next question is related to the first question. So how many hours in a week do you spend in your car? Okay, we put it in hours so that you are able to calculate it faster. So for me, let's say I'm working in Terengganu, so car is my main mode of transportation, and going to work and going after work is probably an hour a day. So in weekend I travel further, so take into account it's probably like 40 hours. Okay, I'll put it there. And then travel by train. Okay, there's no train here, so I'll put 0. By bus, there's no bus, so 0. And then for flights, okay, if you see here, we separate into short haul flight and long haul flight. And the reason because short haul flight has lower carbon emission than long haul flights. Yeah, and what's the definition of short haul? It's anything less than 3,700 km. Okay, so to ease your users in quantifying, we give some tips over here. So just basically help you to gauge your journey of flights. So okay, you can put there in hours, how many hours do you spend? Okay, let's say I could spend an 8 hours return journey to Taiwan. So that's for me. I'll leave it there. Okay, next question. Long haul flights. So if you are traveling to if you travel to China, Korea, Japan, United Kingdom, okay, I put down the hours here. Just bear in mind these two questions is in a year period. Yeah. Okay. So you can quantify from 2024. Yeah. Okay, next. So for home category, we would like to ease our user as well for this. So we ask with how many occupants in the household. Because in Malaysia, we pay our bills by household. So you don't need to do the calculation per person. So you just input how many household. Let's say my house, we have 4. And then the electricity bill monthly, it's about 200. Just pop it there. And then for water bill, say 100. Okay. After inputting all this information, it will automatically calculate the tons per CO2 emissions in annual. Yeah, this is your annual emissions, which accounts for 12 months. Yeah. Okay, now next question for food. Okay, for food. So just answer the questions of which diet best describe your diet. We understand that some of us are like part-time vegetarian, so we took that into consideration as well. So you may answer like meat in every meal or some meals or very rarely. Or you are full-time vegetarian or vegan. Okay, let's say myself is in some meals. Yeah. Okay, and then how frequent do you take beef? Okay, if you notice here, we asked the question is because beef is actually the highest carbon emission emitting meat. And that's because it's the way it's raised, it takes a lot of energy, as well as its production emits a lot of methane. Again, methane is highly potent global warming potential. So that's why we consider this question. Okay, for me, I don't eat beef, so I put do not take beef. Next question. How many times do you take away? In a week. Notice it's in a week. So for me, probably say 3 times. So you can ask yourself as well. So maybe you don't realize, oh, takeaway is actually carbon emitting as well. Yes, of course, because it's using a byte send over, which is gasoline burn usage in sending your food, and then as well using the single-use packaging, right? Okay. And then next, so we consider this questions is because gas stove, how do you prepare your food? Do you cook by using electric or gas stove? The reason being is because if you are using an electric stove, it will be covered in the electricity bill. But if you're using a gas stove, it's not. So we are accounting it here. So okay, let's say I do use a gas stove. Right. And then the next question, again, in a week. Yeah. How many hours do you spend cooking using gas stove? Okay, we don't want to make it a pain, but just give us a rough estimations. How long do you spend cooking using a gas stove? For me, probably like 1 hour daily. So I'll put it 7 hours. Okay, next. How much food relative to the food consumed is typically wasted and thrown away? Right. This part is what I mentioned just now, like food waste. Food waste is actually a problem because imagine the food that you wasted and left to decay and emitting methane. Yeah, that's actually carbon emitting. So this is also why people say don't waste your food, right? And in order to quantify for that carbon emitting, we make life simpler for you. Just give us a percentage. Yeah, like you can imagine a plate of the food, like a food on your plate, how much is being wasted typically? For me, probably like 10% because I don't waste much. Okay. Right. And that's done for food section. And then next section, we go to purchases. Okay, for purchases, notice it's in the last 12 months. So we are quantifying for a year because we understand that not all of us seldom buying like large items every month. So we make it a 12 months calculation. Like what we accounted for is TV, large item of furniture, like when it says furniture is like sofa, cupboard, those large furniture, right? And then next is mobile phone, a tablet, which includes all your electronic gadgets. And then the next one is number of clothes or footwear. So it's by pieces. So let's say if you buy one TV, you can just pop one. If you buy like cupboard and sofa in a year, pop two. Mobile electronic gadgets, okay, I'll pop 4. Number of clothes, I think one in a month. Is that too much? Okay, I'll pop 12. Okay, that will give me my carbon emissions over here. So remember, it's by pieces and it's in accounting for a year. Right, okay, next. For waste part, okay, this is also very challenging. Like when we were developing this calculator, we thought about how users are going to quantify for your waste. I know it's a challenge. So we try to make make it more visual, make it more visuals for you to when it comes to estimations. And if you don't do recycle, just pop 0. But if you do, maybe just give us a good, if you have a calculator, you may use it to quantify a bit how much roughly do you recycle. Yeah, the things that we commonly recycle in Malaysia is like plastic bottles, newspaper, Tetra Pak, soft drink cans, or empty tin. If you need our help in helping you finding a certain thing that you recycle so much, you can let us know. We can try to Google up the figure for you, or you can ask ChatGPT or Copilot. I find it really useful as well when it comes to quantifying. Yeah, just give us a rough estimation. That would be great. Yeah. Okay, so for me, probably like 2 kg per week. Okay, and then next question. After subtracting your recycled waste, what about the rest of the stuff that you throw into dustbin, to bin? Again, it's very hard to quantify. We understand you don't measure your waste. So according to statistic, each Malaysian usually generate 8 kg per week. So if you don't know the figure, may just pop in 8 kg, go by average. But of course, it's better if you have a better figure that represent yourself. And yeah, so for this exercise, if you can see, we cover most of the how to say in your daily life, the highest carbon footprint emitting activities. So we try to make it simple. So that's why there are actually many questions that we haven't asked or we did not consider, but we think this is serve as a average Malaysian lifestyle. Yeah. Later, we'll go through a bit about what's the limitations or assumptions we made behind this calculator, just for your own personal reference. Because in future, probably you would like to, gauge better of your own carbon footprint. And I believe that with that information, you are able to gauge better for your future perusal. Yep. Okay, so once completing all this, all the questions, one thing to note, you just need to change the cell in orange. Yeah, you don't need to change any other things. You just need to change the cell in orange. And if it's a drop-down list, you have to answer the drop-down options. Yeah, or else it would not be considered like this one. Yeah, you have to pop this one. Right. Feel free to, if you have any questions, feel free to leave in the chat box and then I'll come to you later. But before that, let me just quickly show you what you will see upon answering those questions. Yeah, and this is what we visualized that will be helpful for you, which is the summary, the dashboard. Okay, behind this, yeah, to appreciate, kudos to Shao and Chingwen for making this so pretty. And right. For the dashboards, as you can see from one glance, you are able to know which category that emit the most carbon dioxide, carbon footprint for your lifestyle. So for mine, okay, it's yeah, it's very straightforward. It's travel because I travel every day by car. So that's my highest CO2 emissions category. And then with that, it tells me how the, like, prompts me the ways to reduce my emissions. Yeah. And then this is pie charts, just for your glance. And now another a very pretty part of this is this, how you appreciate the figure. So for me, what I find really interesting is like it takes 876,000 of smartphones charge. It means that when you charge your smartphone from 0 to 100%, it takes that amount of smartphones to be charged. This is my total carbon footprint emissions. Yeah. And then it's also comparable to 4,337 of cheeseburgers production. Next one, like 1 hour runtime of 150 watts of street lamps. It takes 104 street lamps. Yeah. And then this one, prompts answered by ChatGPT. For ChatGPT, for this carbon emissions, it's able to do 25 million of answers. For traveling by car, it can travel 44,000 km. And this one is my favorite one, the cheese. So from the scene I committed, it requires 1,085 trees to absorb my scene. And next, 2 Asian elephants weight. We actually consider if we should put this, but we think it's kind of cute to have an elephant here because it represents the weight of the elephant. So the amount of carbon emitted over here is equal to 2 Asian elephants. Yeah. So the final result tells me my total emissions of 10,000 kg of carbon dioxide is actually much higher than the average in Malaysia. So in average per capita in Malaysia, we emit 8 tons of per person based on the population, this amount of population in 2022. Yeah. Okay, now in a way that I am more aware with the figure about the quantifying and I know where's my weak spots to improve. So this serves the beauty, I would say, of this carbon footprint calculator. Yeah, it's very straightforward to use. And yeah, we can't wait for you to try it. But before that, just as I have mentioned just now, this calculator has a bit of limitation. And I would just like to quickly share with you what's the limitation behind.
Hi,
Jason,
Cindy,
can
do you
you?
need me to share screen?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, sure.
But in the meantime, like if you are later, we will have a breakout session so everyone can get some hands-on experience with the carbon footprint calculator. So if you have any questions along, please feel free to reach out or just pop questions in the group chats and we'll be helping you. But before we break away, I will just go through what's the assumptions and limitations behind this calculator. So bear in mind when calculated for the mode of transport, like the emissions by traveling by a car, we consider the carbon emitting of a sedan, which is Toyota Vios. So if you're driving a higher car, like bigger car with higher fuel consumptions, that bear in mind that would produce higher carbon footprint. Yeah. That's also why we want you to understand about the assumptions so that you can gauge the accuracy of the data, right? Okay. And then like motorbike, we take the average speed. Again, all these assumptions, we try to make it as accurate to Malaysian. So we follow Malaysian lifestyle. Yeah. Third one, I have explained. Fourth as well. And then next for home, we assume that everyone's electricity is by TMB. And then for TMB, the tariff charges is by average. Yeah. Because like if you go to TMB bills, there are like different categories of tariff. So we just take average. And then because it would be too much of hassle for you to go through your electricity bills, yeah, we simplified that for you. And then next, water bill. We understand that across whole Malaysia, we have different water tariff. So we take an average one as well. Next for food. So just now there was a questions about how frequent do you take meat. So the meat part includes all kind of meat. It doesn't matter if it's chicken, duck, lamb, pork, or seafood. Yeah, as long as it's meat. Yeah. And then next one is takeaways. So takeaways, we assume it's a 30-minute journey with single-use plastic packaging, right? And then next, we does not consider the food waste during preparation. And the reason behind is because you might not know. If you take away, you also don't know how much food is being wasted in preparation, as well as if you are at home, not necessarily you cook for yourself. Like you might be eating from what your mom cooks, so you don't have the idea as well. So to be fair, we just omitted it out. Yeah. And then next slide, please. May I have the next slide? Okay, and then next for purchases. Okay, for purchases, we take into account of life cycle assessment carbon footprint. So as what Ang have mentioned earlier, that every product actually comes with a carbon footprint. So that's why we just consider the largest item, which is sofa. And then there are also like large items like washing machine, dishwasher, tumble dryer, fridge, freezer. All of these we didn't account because we think that people would not normally buy it every year, right? Okay. And then next for clothes or footwear, we included it because fast fashion is actually one of the most carbon emitting industry, because of the process of producing textile. Yeah. And the next slide, small items like health, beauty, grooming products, all those small items we didn't take into account, because I think all of you would not want to count back how many items you have purchased for all these small items. Yeah. And the next, okay, this one is very interesting. When we were considering it, we had a debate if we should include it or not, which is the data cloud service. And actually, like everything that you store in the data cloud comes with carbon footprint as well. Yeah, but probably this is a good point for awareness purpose, since all of us here, right, in Sustainkita, and our main purpose is to reduce our own personal footprint. So if you have any unwanted like emails or any pictures that you think is not necessary to be stored in the cloud, just delete it. Yeah, it helps with the carbon footprint. Okay, next for waste. For waste, with the method of disposal, we say that by landfill. This is because in Malaysia, if you don't know, like our municipal waste is actually mainly disposed by landfill. And landfill is actually the highest carbon emitting method of disposal of waste. So this is also actually why the importance of recycling in Malaysia. Yeah. So the concept again, I would say as a user, you can think it this way. What we can do is we try to reduce the usage as much as possible. So probably a bit like handling being a minimalist. Yeah. If you can resist of buying, just don't buy. If you can reduce it, reduce at the first place. Yes. And then next, reuse it. And then finally, only you recycle. Right. Yeah. This is also a new concept which I learned like last year, and I tried to impose it in my life, and I think it worked. It saved my money as well. Yeah. Okay. Right. I think that's all for assumptions and a bit of sharings on environmental awareness and how you can reduce your own carbon footprint. So now we would have 15 minutes for everyone to fill up your carbon footprint calculator, which the link is at the next slide. Jason, can you share the link for the participants? Do you have the access to the carbon calculator?
I think
Oh,
Shao will be sharing the link.
Okay, right. Then shall can you share the link?
Yeah, so if you look at the chat box in the Zoom call, so you see 1 and 2, right? So number 1 is
Okay,
Excel
right.
file, so you can download and use it as guided. Second is the Google Sheet method. If you don't have Excel downloaded, then you can try to use this one. Click on the link
Okay,
and save copy, and you can use it as online version.
right. Thank you, Shao. Very considerate. So again, if you don't have Excel app on your laptop, you can always use the Google Sheet method. So there's on the second point, there's a link for you to use. For the first one, if you have an app, the calculator works fine with both. I have tried, so it should work on your side. If you can't access, please let us know. And wow, very considerate of Shao. She actually added a technical assistance number for it. So anyone who have questions, feel free to pop to our WhatsApp assistance. And I believe Shao will be helping behind the scene. So yeah. Okay, so you have 15 minutes now. So we'll come back at 4:50. Once you are done with the carbon footprint calculator, please scan the QR code again to fill up your results. Because at the same time, we will Sustainkita is also as I mentioned, the awareness of carbon footprint calculator in Malaysia is still very limited. And I think it's good to have all this data. So don't worry, the confidential part we will censor it out. So we just want to calculate roughly an average. How much is everyone's annual total footprint emission? Yeah. And I believe the link is you can just get it by scanning the code over there. Okay. Then we'll come back at 4:50. In the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to chat with us and enjoy. Okay, back to you, if you have
Okay.
anything to add on.
I think that's all I wanted to share with everyone. Thank you so much, Cindy, for sharing. Right now, I think it's the time for all of us to have a go at it. You can try it out. If you have any technical issue, feel free to let us know. We'll assign you into a technical support breakout room, and then we have Shao to support you there. Else, if you have any questions, you can always raise your questions here with us, and Cindy and I will try to assist you as much as possible.
Okay. We have a question in the chat from Patricia. It's directed to Cindy. So the question is, do you happen to know how many natural gas are wasted while mining crude oil or petroleum? Was looking at electricity generator that runs on natural gas, cleaner energy as compared to gasoline, wish to gain more insights.
Just Charles here. What about we take it separately? So I will share Cindy's email in the chat.
Oh, okay, sure. But interesting, Patricia. It's a good question, and feel free to reach out to me. I have so much to tell you. Yeah. You can always how do I reach out to you? After the session. After the session.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think like what Shah said earlier, Patricia, if you're okay, you can just email a question to Cindy. We can bring this offline because there's other participants here as well. I just want to prioritize the questions related to maybe perhaps carbon footprint calculator, if that's okay with you. Thank you.
Talking to Kenny right now, I feel maybe participants will feel more comfortable to speak in smaller groups. So shall we start the breakout session, just 2 groups?
Okay. Okay, then we sign now. Let me just open them.
Before that, just want to check if anyone having problem accessing the file. Feel free to type number 2 in the chat box, and then we'll try to assist. Okay, we'll now proceed to the breakout room. Anything, feel free to text us on WhatsApp. Or you can just unmute yourself and tell us if you're facing any technical problems.
Hello. For those who are still in this room, feel free to join either two of the breakout room that was assigned to you, Shao and also what's it called? Cindy's there to assist. Sorry, yes. What is the link to the Google form? Sorry, do you mean the link to the Excel sheet? Uh, Diparesa, if you're I think he went over. Okay, that's fine.
I think let me just resend the chat message into.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much.
Let me see if I can resend or not.
If needed, I can copy paste it and I'll put it in I'll put it in each group lah. Manually go in and I'll put it there again.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. Okay,
I do it. I
okay.
do it. I do it.
Okay.
Hello, Chinyi. Are you still here with us? If you wanted to join any breakout room, feel free to go to the room that was assigned to you. Hi, for those who are done, I would appreciate if you could scan this QR code to log in your results. Yeah. While I will go to the other room itself to remind them that. Okay, see you guys in a bit. Oh no. I hope everyone's able to see the screen. If you are unable to, please let me know. But if you can, please scan the QR code on the screen to fill in a very, very simple Google form to let us know how much of your carbon emission that you have calculated based on your carbon calculator. That is for us to do a record, and maybe we can compare at the end of the event how much you have reduced throughout this activity. Okay? Okay, hello everyone. If you can see the screen, we will appreciate if you can scan the QR code above, answer a very, very simple Google form, or click on the link that I shared with the chat box to tell us your GHG emission. That's one way for us to record your GHG emission. And so we are able to track and see how much lifestyle change you have embarked that resulted in reduction in carbon emission by the end of this program. Okay? So let me know if there's any challenge to get the Google form. Okay. So if can you type 1 if you have not fill in a Google form in the screen? Because I noticed that we are about to we are running a bit late, and I wanted to perhaps wrap up the session and to bring to the next slide. So if you have not done it, please type 1. If so, I will assume everyone have done it. Okay. All right, then in the interest of time, I guess it's best for me to proceed. All right. Thank you, everyone. Of course, before we end the session, I wanted to remind everyone that this is a ongoing 9 weeks program. This is the first one. Really appreciate you joining us. And of course, we have 3 more webinars coming. Next one happening next week, 12th of this January, on climate change in context. We also have one on renewable energy and energy efficiency that you could do at home. And of course, sustainable waste management, introducing circular economy, for those who have heard this term before, we wanted to share that with you. Okay, you can scan the same link that how you sign up for this event. You can sign up for that, or you can also scan the other QR code where you can find out more about this program on a program booklet. But fret not, these 2 QR codes are already available on our social media. Always go back to the post that brings you to this workshop today, and you can sign up for it. Okay, once you have signed up, we already put your name for all these 3 webinars. So if you already are joining this workshop, I would say that you probably would have already been signed up for the others. Okay, last but not least, in the last 5 minutes, I don't want to drag this further. It's a lovely Sunday. You should also spend some time with your family or doing things you want. Before we leave, we wanted to listen to your feedback. Your feedback is very important. We wanted to also understand what we did well and how we can improve for the next workshop. Okay, so appreciate if you could scan this QR code, on the screen itself, and maybe Shao can help me to share the feedback form again in the chat box for everyone to fill in their feedback. Okay, so while you're doing so, if you have any questions, we have 5 minutes also to answer your queries. If not, you can always email it to us. Okay, you can unmute yourself and say something if you want. Or if you want to share how you feel about this event today, feel free to do so too, while you are filling up this feedback form.
Just wanna highlight something that we might have missed, especially on carbon footprint. I understand some of you guys, I think majority of you guys haven't submitted your carbon footprint. I do understand that some of you might not have completed. That is fine. Feel free to reach out to us afterwards if you face any problems in completing the exercise. Otherwise, if you've completed the table, you should be able to see a total carbon footprint in the dashboard. So that number, would really appreciate if you can click on the link, the form. So there's a form that's where you can submit your total carbon footprint. So that will act as a benchmark at the beginning. So after these 3 webinars, we'll measure again what's your plan to reduce the carbon footprint. So this is really important. We appreciate. So I have popped in the link in the chat box. So you just refer to that, the form number 1, link number 1. Link number 2 is a feedback form. So for those who haven't done it yet, please appreciate it. Click on the link and let us know your total carbon footprint at the moment. Okay, Patricia. Patricia, I do have some error in the Excel sheet. Let's see. I think she's referring to cell number G8.
It's okay, Patricia, I can help you after this. Yeah. Probably need you to share your screen later.
Yeah, Patricia, you can stay back if you're okay. For those who also have technical difficulty, you can stay back for a bit. We will be here. And just to refresh everyone, we probably will send again the link for you to log your emission, 1, the feedback form 2nd, and also the carbon emission Excel sheet if you miss it. We will send it back to the participants today because we noticed that not everyone have logged in their responses for the carbon emission. Yeah. So we will do that again, and appreciate if you can help us to answer that. That will really give us a very good understanding of where everyone is, and we're able to perhaps tailor some programs to support everyone. Okay. So I think for feedback form, we only have 5 responses so far, whereas for the carbon emission, we have 9 responses. So yeah, we'll just send the link back again after this workshop. Try to have everyone to fill in the form itself for us to do a very nice analysis. Okay.
Can we have the committee team to just turn on your camera? Yeah, just gonna show our face as well. So this is the team working behind the scene. We've been working really hard, and thank you so much for your support to come in and tune in this session. Understand that this is quite a heavy thing on a nice and bright Sunday. So thanks a lot for joining, and we hope you have learned something by attending the session today. The tool is not perfect, but we're looking towards to improvise it, perhaps certainly the app-based version or a web-based version, so it will be easier for anyone to use it. All right. Yeah. So it's 5 p.m. I will pass it back to Jason.
Okay, I think that's all we wanted to share with the team. We really hope you find the session helpful today. And Kenny will definitely assist Patricia and Cindy to be assigned to a separate breakout room to do so. Okay. Of course, our journey doesn't end here. Our journey only starts today. Feel free to join us in the following webinars, workshops, and ask many questions as you want on WhatsApp or in Gmail that we can try to answer you. Okay, if there's no more questions from your side, we wish you a happy Sunday and thank you for joining us again. We'll see you next week for our webinars on climate change. Okay, thank you everyone.